is racism in America? It exists. It absolutely exists. Racism is a human disease, not a white disease or a black disease. It's a human disease. But let's talk about the Panther story, and I want to talk from the beginning. Let me take you back first to Election Day in 2008. The Black Panthers had a national effort to send out its party members to the polling locations. They called this an election emergency. Okay? Now, two of the members were caught on tape at a polling location in Philadelphia in full paramilitary uniforms, and one of them, you can see, is holding a baton. All right? That Panther, his name is King Shamir Shabazz. He was reportedly harassing and intimidating voters and poll workers. Now, this is supposedly an open and shut case, and it was. Bush started the prosecution before the end of his term, but then Obama comes in and decides suddenly in May of 2009 to drop the case. Here's where it gets interesting, because a former DOJ official ends up resigning in protest over the case. He testifies last week about it, and he says there's something really wrong. But then there's another character that you need to know about. His name is Bartell Bull. He's a civil rights lawyer from the 1960s. This guy is not a hardcore Rush Limbaugh fan. He's a former campaign manager for Robert Kennedy. He said, quote, "This is the most blatant form of voter intimidation he had ever seen." Now that's saying something. He's a civil rights attorney from the 60s. Again, not a right-wing Republican shill. Bull also said in his affidavit that the Black Panthers intimidated voters and tried to interfere with the work of other poll observers, telling one, quote, "You're about to be ruled by the black man, cracker," end quote. This actually affects our elections. It affects our democracy and our republic. Here's the problem. The DOJ is not protecting the republic. Last week, we showed you this video of the accused King Shamir Shabazz. It was uncovered that he said these stupid comments about killing white babies.
I hate white people. All of them. Every last iota of a cracker, I hate it.
Okay, we get it. This is hatred. This is racism. But this is also inciting. You gotta kill him. The guy got less than a slap on the wrist from Obama and his DOJ. Here's what he got. He's not allowed to go to any Philadelphia polling locations until 2012. Gee, what's going on in 2012? Oh, presidential election year. Oh, and he can also still go to other polling locations in other towns. Despite all of this, there is no interest in this case. There's no interest in this case at all from the administration. There's no call for any comments from this administration. There's no interest in the press about this case, a case that shouldn't have been dropped in the first place. Today, I want to look at the priorities of the president, because actions speak louder than words. That something is very, very, very wrong. We're going to start with his actions. He talks a good game. But again, your actions speak louder than words. What does he take action on? In Afghanistan, you remember McChrystal came out and he issued a report saying we need more troops in Afghanistan. He did this on August 30th, 2009. It took the president 93 days to decide. That's when he ordered an additional 30,000 troops. The BP oil spill, it took him 57 days before he even met with the CEO. That's nearly 2 months later. Do you remember the underwear bomber? This happened over Christmas. The president didn't even make a formal statement until 2 weeks after the underwear bomber. And then on January 5th, he said, well, the system failed in a potentially disastrous way. ACORN. We have been covering ACORN forever. FBI field office opened up an investigation into ACORN on January 22nd, 2009, 2 days after Obama took office. 2 months later, 60 days later, they closed shop, dropped the investigation. It has been 450 177 days now. Despite new documents, the videos that you saw on Fox News, no new investigations into ACORN. The guys who made the videos, they've already been investigated. They already went to court. It's all done. Investigation into ACORN? No. How about Van Jones? Is there a case of a bigger story? And at least I grew up, worrying about the communists and the Russians coming over the pole. We reported on an actual communist hired by the White House, a revolutionary. Have you read Storm yet? Please, it's available at glennbeck.com for free. It is the organization that he started in Oakland, California. Storm, radical revolutionaries that pined, actually, of the collapse of the Soviet Union. Radical revolutionaries calling for a violent overthrow of the United States government. We talked about Van Jones and started to explain this on July 23rd. Van Jones didn't resign until September 5th of 2009. 47 days it took the White House to comment. 47 days on Van Jones. Now, it's been a week since we showed you the Black Panther that want to kill white babies. Still no comment from the administration. From the administration that dropped this slam dunk case. Not a single comment. All right. So these are the things that are taking suspiciously long. The Obama administration doesn't think they have to move rapidly on war, the biggest environmental disaster of our country's history. Al-Qaeda coming in with an underwear bomber, ACORN and massive corruption, a communist in the White House. Those things, no rush. So what does he think is important? Well, on July 20th, 2009, news of the Professor Gates arrest hits the press. 48 hours later, without, and I'm using his words, without any of the facts, President Obama, despite his staff telling him not to say anything, decides to comment during a major press conference and declare that the police acted stupidly. 48 hours a comment comes from the President of the United States, as opposed to 93 days on war. The Arizona log, they have been begging for reinforcement for 454 days. Nothing. It took President Obama 78 days to come up and file a lawsuit. Do all the paperwork, get it all done, and file the lawsuit. They announced their intentions to sue 30 days before. Got it? Took them 30 days to put it together. 78 to actually file it. 93 to read a report and to decide. Okay, back to the oil spill. 57 days to meet with the BP, right? BP oil ban. 57 days to meet, 37 days to stop all drilling in the Gulf. Now, this is interesting because they lost this in court. A court overruled this ban on June 22nd. Later that same day, within 8 hours, they did it again. They just refiled a third time today. Okay, what does this tell you? Not important. To me, these are the important things. Some of these are very important, but they don't seem, I can't figure out what his priorities are. What are his priorities? Let me get down to this one. Oakland police riots. He can't decide on any of these. But within hours, he could do these. He has Eric Holder set to investigate the Oakland shooting, and it didn't take much time. By the way, the verdict came in at 4:08 p.m. on July 8th. About 6:08, they made a statement of the DOJ. So that's 2 hours. 2 hours.